So for this video, we're going to be talking about how to ride sand, some of the basics of riding sand, some of the do's and don'ts, and how to read different sand pits. So there's two things that we want to understand about sand. We want to understand how to read and understand kind of the anatomy of sand. And then we want to understand how to take advantage of the different types of sand, what type of techniques we want to use. So first we want to understand what types of sand there are. The biggest thing that differentiates sand is the moisture content. The wetter the sand is, the more it's going to be almost like pavement. It's also going to pack down and it's not going to flow back in, as opposed to dry sand. So dry sand is going to tend to flow back into the rut when somebody rides through it, and so you're not going to have as well-defined ruts. It's also going to move a lot easier, so when you're pedaling, a lot of times you're just churning sand. How do we take advantage of the different types of sand? First, let's talk about wet sand. How do we take advantage of wet sand? Wet sand is a little bit easier because the ruts and the tracks are going to tend to stay put because the sand doesn't flow as much. And so the key to riding wet sand really fast is to hold that rut. The question now becomes how do you ride a rut? How do you hold that rut? The key is to lean back, let your front end float, let it find the rut. As long as it's pointed in the general direction, it will fall back in. It will find the rut for you. Once your front wheel has the rut, your rear wheel will always follow it. So keep your front wheel pointed in the direction of the rut, keep the weight off that front wheel and planted on the rear. Keep your power planted through the rear and let the front wheel guide you. That's the best way to ride a rut. Dry sand's a lot harder to ride because it tends to move underneath you and it tends to move back in, so you don't have these well-defined ruts that you can follow. So the first step to riding dry sand is to just get your speed up and go through it. The front wheel is going to tend to grab in the dry sand, and so you need to keep your weight back once again. So keep your weight back and enter with a lot of speed. This will help the bike float over the sand a little bit. You also want to aim for any ruts that you have. Lean back and keep as much speed as you can. The key to riding dry sand is to conserve your momentum and keep your speed up and never stop pedaling. So as you're going through the sand, you've got your rut, you've got your momentum. How do you conserve that momentum? That's the hardest part. Once you hit the sand, you got your front wheel floating over the sand, that's going to help you as much. But as you start to slow down, you have to put more power down. You want to find moments where you can plant the power to keep yourself moving forward and then allow the bike to float when you're not applying power. So you can think of it sort of as a two-step. Apply power and lean forward, let the bike float and lean back as you push the bike forward. And that keeps the bike moving forward. Again, it helps you conserve speed. So that is the basics of riding sand.